Do you need encouragement to turn tragedies into your own triumphant life story? If so, this podcast is for you. Listen to powerful guests who have persevered through challenges so you can gain strength to build your championship life. The host of Professor of Perseverance podcast, Dr. James Perdue.
Hey, come on in. Let's get started. Today, this is one of these topics I don't know a lot about. We've had one other episode early when I started a podcast that's on this same topic, and we're coming around with it again. I'm just fascinated how it all got started, especially how people get out of this, and of course, helping the other people here. So let's get started here. I just don't even want to go into a whole big old intro, but to give you an idea, we're talking about this woman here, early age, was sold into sex trafficking. Welcome to the show, JenniSue Jessen.
Thank you so much. I am honored to be here with you and your audience and explore what perseverance looks like, and certainly perseverance in the context of human trafficking.
Okay, now before we go any further, you said the word right off the bat here. So let me go over and push this button and give you a fist bump. Hold on. Hold on. Let me go over here. Got to push this button. Then I got to go over here and push this button. And then I've just lost it. Hold on. Don't go anywhere, JenniSue. And then I push this one. All right, now it's a big fist bump.
There you go.
All right. Now then, because you said the word perseverance.
Yep.
Okay. Perseverance, resilience. I mean, everything all ties together. But you're definitely an example of this from what I've read on your bio. And I appreciate you coming in to share. And again, this is not a topic that I'm used to doing, but I mean, just again, hearing the stories and fighting to get out, and even people that's, they fought a long time to get out of this.
Right.
So I'm just interested in how people just don't break and they're able to move on. So, all right, JenniSue, I'm leaving it to you, and we'll jump in whenever we can.
Okay, well, let's jump in. Just right up front, I would like to give everyone a trigger warning. I will handle this topic with care and give you the PG version. However, we are going to be talking about human trafficking, sexual exploitation, some suicidal ideation. And so if you're in a car with kids, you might want to put headphones on, or if you need to step away, please feel free to do that. I'm honored that you would share space and time with me to whatever level you're able to engage. So I just want to give that as an invitation to the audience so they're prepared for the context.
Good deal.
My name is JenniSue. I grew up in the Midwest and then moved to the South, hence the name JenniSue. I had, on one level, a pretty normal life. From the outside looking in, I was a star student. I came from a wealthy family. A lot of other people, other little kids envied me. But there was a dark side to the life that I was living that virtually no one understood. And that was because at the age of 4, my grandfather started selling me to other men for sex. So I had been at my grandparents' house, and he took me to work with him one day. And I was just a little blonde-haired girl bouncing around in my pigtails all over the train station where he worked. And I was spoiled rotten all day long because I was the only little kid. All these, roughneck guys working, and they'd give me candy and treats. And I spent most of the day with one man in particular. It was his job to move train cars from one end of the yard to the other. And so I got to tag along with him, sit on his lap, drive the train, blow the whistle. It was just magical for a 4-year-old little kid. But late afternoon, early evening came, and it was time to leave. So my grandfather, took me to the car. I assumed we were going home. We did not. Instead, we went to a big open field where that man was waiting for me. And so he gave my grandfather some money, and he came to take from me what he had paid for. And in a matter of minutes, my world turned upside down and inside out. There was just no way to understand or reconcile what was happening or why. After the unthinkable happened, my grandfather wrapped me in a blanket, put me in the back seat of the car to take me home. And one of the surprising things about my grandfather, this may be surprising to your audience, I don't know, maybe not, is besides his perverse love for little girls, he had a love for old gospel music. And so that afternoon, he started the car, headed towards home, and put in a cassette tape playing How Great Thou Art. And over the years of my exploitation, he would actually play that song on repeat, either during the violence or immediately after the violence. And I believe it was a way of trying to program me to never, ever find freedom, and certainly not freedom in the church or in Christ. And in reality, it worked for a lot of years. And even to this day, hearing that song provokes me. It triggers me.
Oh, I'd imagine so. Yeah. And just to step into, I wouldn't, of course, we're talking, I've never been where you're at. I'm thinking he's playing it to ease his conscience is what I'm thinking. And his
Maybe.
soul. That's what I'm thinking. I'm not thinking, of course, again, I'm not in your situation. But
Right.
that was my first thought, is he's trying to ease his conscience by doing this old gospel stuff.
That could be like his version of penance, but he did go to his grave about almost 20 years ago. He went to his grave cursing God. Some of his last words were, "I don't want to hear anything about your God. I am God."
Oh, wow.
In a really profane way.
Yeah.
The PG version of what he said. So that was part of my history and growing up. That was the first time I was raped for profit, but he had been grooming me for some time before that. So I was already sexually abused at that point.
Mhm.
But the abuse continued. So kindergarten, I was praying every night that God would just let me die. First grade, had first symptoms of sexually transmitted infection. Second grade, went to church on a Sunday morning and sat behind the man that paid to rape me the night before. Third grade, encountered a particularly violent perpetrator who was angry when he wasn't able to perform what he wanted to perform. And he took that out on me. So he actually fractured my neck in 2 places and fractured my pelvis in 3 places. And so the violence continued until at my senior year in high school, I was desperate for escape. And I thought, you know what? I wasn't into pain. I didn't want anything particularly messy, but I have incredible willpower. So I decided I would just starve myself to death. And so I started my senior year in high school weighing about 126 pounds. And I'm 5'5", so that's normal, healthy, slim. But I decided I was going to starve myself to death. So every third day, I would allow myself to have a glass of chocolate milk or a grilled cheese sandwich. And that's how I proceeded through my senior year, was every third day, either a glass of chocolate milk or a grilled cheese sandwich. So by springtime, it was working. I was really, really sick. I was down to 89 pounds. My hair was falling out. I was fainting at school. And in some ways, I could see the light at the end of the tunnel because it was working. But I came out of school one day, and once again, my grandfather was waiting for me. Once again, he took me to a place of violence.
Hold on for a second. Let me, before you get into that, because I'm slow at this and everything. So you're saying your senior year, this was your attempt at suicide?
That was my down low. I'm coming to the more active version of that.
But it was okay. But it was your beginning.
Yeah. My
Okay.
my suicidal ideation actually started in kindergarten when I was praying every night
Oh,
that
I,
God would
I, yeah, 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 yeah.
that he would let me die. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
understand what that meant exactly. But yeah, my senior year, I started in the fall and I thought, okay, I'm just going to starve myself to death. And so I was on a mission to complete my suicide by starvation. But in April, late April, I came out of school. My grandfather was waiting for me. Again, the violence happened later that afternoon, evening, came home. And on that day, I was just overwhelmed with the grief and the shame and thought, it's hopeless. There is no escape. Starving is taking too long. And so I decided I needed to take more immediate action
Mm-hmm.
and uh, planned to slit my wrist, wrote a note, locked myself in the bathroom. I was going to do that in a hot bath because I thought that would be the most effective.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still not sure how. I believe God intervened, but how that happened, because I was in this space of just howling grief, like snot dripping, your whole body
Yeah,
grieving,
yeah, yeah.
completely outside of your logical mind kind of grief. And the next thing I knew, I woke up in the bathroom floor. The bathtub was full to the tip top, but hadn't overflowed. I was naked in the bathroom floor, still holding the knife. My fingernails had actually cut little half moon shapes from holding the knife so tightly in my fist.
Mm-hmm.
But when I woke up, it was the next morning and it was time to get ready for school. And here I am, 17. Like, what? Look at the clock, look at the knife, look at the bathtub. What do? Well, I guess you go to school. So I put the knife in my makeup bag, got ready for school, went to school that day with a bandage on my hand, hiding the fingernail marks. And that afternoon found out actually that I was pregnant.
Mm.
And so I often say, God used sin to send a son that saved my life.
I'm telling you, we'll see right there. This is probably, I just talked to someone just the other day with their story, and she said it was actually stepchild, but who she was seeing was her savior for her being suicidal. And I've talked to two other women and during podcasts, and again have referenced their children, which saved their life. And I told, and I've said it, and I'll say it to you now. That's I'm sorry you got pregnant the way you did. I hate that for you. But again, someone was brought to you to bring more love and to more love to you than more the hate that you had for everything else to give that survival.
Yeah. It is an astounding thing to me that, I mean, this is my belief system, my personal experience, not trying to push that on anybody else, but that in my circumstances, in the deepest, darkest, most vile, that God would show up and say, no, baby, life, even here, life.
Yeah.
Even here, life is an astounding thing. And that pregnancy awoke in me this mama bear instinct. So I had tried a handful of times as a child to fight back or run. And I learned really quickly that my survival was dependent on my silence and my submission. And with this pregnancy, now I have this innocent baby to protect. So I finally had the courage to tell a counselor enough about what was happening for her to intervene and help get myself and my child to safety. And that was a monumental day. It was April 26th, 1990. And every April 26th since then, my son and I celebrate that day as his day. I tell him he was a hero from conception. He hadn't done anything yet, but I wouldn't be here.
No,
I would
April
have
26, you said?
April 26th, 1990.
That's when you discovered you were pregnant.
Yeah, that's when I
Okay.
discovered
I,
I was
I,
pregnant.
I was making sure you weren't talking about when you went to go talk to the counselor. You're
No,
talking that
no.
when you found out, discovered your prey, and that's okay. Okay, that y'all
Yeah.
celebrate then. Okay.
Yeah. That was the day after. So my failed suicide attempt was April 25th.
Hmm.
April 26th, I woke up and late afternoon found out that I was pregnant. And that began my journey towards freedom, because now with this mama bear instinct, I had a baby to protect.
Hmm.
And so the journey to healing began at that point. God providing for my rescue and escape by instigating in me or awakening in me a power that I always had, but I didn't know. Uh, so that myself and my son, we could find freedom. And the journey has been long and hard since then, but it has been filled with grace upon grace upon grace, to the point that in 2011, my husband and I were able to start an international counter-trafficking organization. And we now have a prevention tool that's operating in 44 countries. We have restoration programs in
All
5
right.
countries. Last year, we saw God impact more than 53,000 individuals through our programs and our teams. So, um, I have come to believe through a long, sometimes gut wrenching healing journey, that our trauma does not define us. Rather, it equips us. And now I get to use my experience, and God lets me have a front row seat to watching captives set free again and again and again and again. So that's where I come from. What questions jump to mind?
Well, again, one thing I want to say is not necessarily a question. Is It's sad you mentioned this though, but it's sad that sometimes we don't know how strong we are until we're put into a situation and we're able to battle it out. And then we
Yep.
come through and then we go, shit, I'm better than I thought I was,
Uh-huh.
stronger than I thought. And I didn't know I was this strong. And it's
Right.
sad that we have to go. I mean, I had to go through a lot of stuff when I got first paralyzed, not being able to walk again, not being able to be the provider, not be the strong
Right.
person in the house. And now here I am, the weakest person in the house, and having to learn to. One of my thing then is when I was young was uh, never asking for help because I
Yeah.
didn't ask for help beforehand. And now I've
Right.
come to realize asking for help is a strength.
Absolutely.
To realize where you're at and ask for that help is a strong point. It's a strength. So, but it's one thing is that I'm sorry you went through what you had to go through, but again, to find out how strong you really are is
Mhm.
is amazing to me. For anybody who goes through anything. So I
Yeah.
do have this one question. I'm sure it's a stupid question. Because obviously I'm not a woman and
I don't
not
think there's any
raped.
stupid
No,
questions.
no,
So bring it.
no children me bearing. But how difficult? Because you hear other stories. You know what I'm saying? I've heard other
Yeah.
stories, read other books, stuff like that, and people talk about they were raped, and here they are. They didn't believe in abortion, and now they're raising this child they were raped by,
Right.
and they had the decision to hate this child or love this child. And so, I guess to me is how do you separate that from getting and receiving? I get getting the you know being raped to get the child and then to love. Because
Right.
to me, I would think again it goes to again like I mentioned, you finally got something you loved more than you hate it about everything. So, but again, how did you get there?
Yeah, that is a great and super complex question. I can only answer from my own personal experience. I don't
Yep.
want to pretend to answer for
And
every
and
woman who's
I would not
experienced.
condemn anybody if they decide to get an abortion due to a rape. I mean, I wouldn't condemn anybody for that either.
Yeah,
But again, speaking on you, that's nothing to do about anybody else out there. How did
right.
you come to the cross to decide to love this?
Yeah,
maybe that you achieved from, not wanting to.
when I found out that I was pregnant, well, part of my story that I did not share is at the age of 15, I had been pregnant as well. And my
Okay.
grandfather found out about that one or understood the implications of it more than me at that point. And so I endured a forced abortion in a slaughterhouse,
Yeah, I was
strapped
going
to a
to.
wooden table.
When you mention that, then I'm thinking, oh, he knows the
Yeah.
implication because you're going to have to tell somebody at your age, how did you
Yeah.
get pregnant? And when
And
you start talking and don't stop talking, he knows what's coming.
right. And at 15, I wasn't allowed to date yet. So it was really problematic for
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
And so I had
Okay.
that experience of violent loss at the age of 15.
Mm-hmm.
Just before my 18th birthday, April 26th, is when I found out that I was pregnant this second time. And as much as desperately as I wanted to die, I did not want to face God with the guilt of another death on my conscience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So my personal conviction at that point really, I mean, this may sound really, I don't know, harsh or bad. I didn't know if I could or would love the child, if I could or would be able to parent,
Mm-hmm.
but I absolutely believed I had to stay alive long enough to give birth to the child.
Yep.
And the woman, it was at a pregnancy clinic, who told me I was pregnant. She desperately wanted to adopt, and so she gave me her personal name and phone number. She and her husband had been pursuing adoption for a couple of years, and I carried that name and number in my wallet with me until my son was about 9 months old. Because like I said, I knew I needed to stay alive, but I didn't know if I would be able to parent.
Well, you
And
didn't know you were going to fall in love.
right. And further, and this, I don't think I've ever said this on a podcast. It feels
There we go. See,
cringy.
I like it when someone says this is the first time because it makes me think, whoa, I'm doing something right here. Okay, go
Yeah.
ahead.
When I was, mid pregnancy and had an ultrasound and found out that I was expecting a boy, I was devastated. I felt so betrayed. Like, how can my body grow a man child? Like,
That's a, yeah.
my only experience with men was violence. And I
Yes, yes,
thought,
yes.
this sounds really crass, but in that place of trauma, recently free, all 14 years of being raped for profit, finding out that I was carrying a boy child, I was devastated. Like, I literally felt betrayed. Um, I've said this, and my kids know this at this point, but by the time he came, I was really glad that I found out when I was 20 weeks pregnant, because I had time to process and
To eat
feel
better.
him kicking and moving, and give birth to him, and be up in the middle of the night with him and see his perfection and his
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
innocence. And I absolutely was fine with him being with a boy by the time he was born, and fell in love at first sight.
Yeah, yeah.
But it is true. I don't think every woman has to parent. I think adoption is a beautiful and heart-wrenching choice that
Oh,
women
yeah.
often
Especially when
navigate.
someone says, they may or may not eventually later on in life, get reconnect with that child. But when they
Right,
do, and the first thing out of their mouth to me, when I hear them say, I couldn't give you the life you deserve,
right.
and that's why I
Yeah,
gave you up. I never forgot about you, never stopped loving you, but you deserve more than I could give you. And to
right.
hear that,
Yeah, it's a definitely a sacrificial choice. And I've had conversations with my son, um, telling him that I'm sorry for all the ways I was not equipped to love him well as an infant and as a tiny, tiny human, all the things I didn't know. And I wish that I had had the capacity to show up and parent him in a healthier way. Fortunately, by God's grace, we survived it. He and I survived it. I met and married my husband. My husband adopted my son. I went on to have, well, a lot of pregnancies. I have a lot of scar tissue, a lot of damage in
Mm-hmm.
my pelvis.
Mm-hmm.
So, total, I've been pregnant 17 times, 14 losses,
Mm-hmm.
3 live children. And
Well, from the abuse you took from 4 years old, taking this
right.
abuse, there's this. I got a friend, and hers is not quite like yours, but it's very similar. She
Yeah.
remembers at 6 years old when either 4, 5, or 6 of her cousins
Yeah.
would take her in the woods,
Yeah.
start at 6, and then here's these cousins trading her around and tell her not to say anything, because then they would tell the whole community that she was a slut and a whore at 6 years
Mhm.
old. And it said then
Right.
your parents be, ostracized in the community because of you.
Right.
And they went on to she was about 15 before she was
Mhm.
able to stand up to them. And then in her 60s, she had some cancer,
Mm.
uterus cancer, and
Right.
they think it was because of all that abuse so young like it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There's it is astounding what the human body can endure and survive and even recover from.
Hmm.
And so I carry a lot of scars, physically and emotionally. Sometimes I still have nightmares. Sometimes I still sleep with the lights on. Or I've been married. My husband and I were coming up on our 30th wedding anniversary, and there's still days and times that I'm a touch me not. Like,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
yeah, I just can't right now because I call it haunted. That's the
Yeah.
communication between my husband and I. So he knows I'm not just saying no to him or being frigid, that
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, there's a shadow here between us,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
feel safe to engage right now, to be
But
vulnerable."
saying that's a great man to me, to not just understand it, but accept it, and not being the old poor piddle for me. You're going, you
Right,
don't love me because we're not, to
right.
understand everything. So it's easy to do the old talk the talk, but when you walk the walk, that's it. So it sounds like you
Yeah.
got an incredible, amazing man.
He's astounding. He
There
loves
we
me
go.
well,
Good deal.
and
Um,
it's been a
what's his
journey for
name?
both of us.
What's his name? We'll drop a little pin on him.
His name's KJ.
Hey, KJ. Hey, thank you, buddy. Appreciate you getting
His
in her life.
his kids say it stands for Killjoy, but that is not true at all.
There you go. Yeah, well, it may have something to do with. Oh, kill joy. No, 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 no.
No,
He likes joy. He likes
like,
happiness. That's
yeah,
right. So,
he's a good
all
one.
right. Now, here's the again my stupid question. Anybody over the years, whether it's men or granddad, ever finally get prosecuted? Anything ever happened to them? If it just all got shut down and they got off free,
They got off free, but I
free
believe
from
in,
here, but not free from
yeah,
somewhere else.
I believe in a God of justice.
Yes.
And my grandfather went to his grave cursing God. So, but yeah, he did not face justice in this realm. He was a powerful guy and a big fish in a little pond. And some of my
Yeah.
perpetrators, there was a judge, there was a police officer.
Oh yeah,
My
yeah.
grandfather, his which is common in a lot of trafficking. My grandfather was a marketing wizard, so he made money off of my exploitation in 3 ways. One, just the firsthand exchange of me to the perpetrator, and he got
Mm-hmm.
paid for that. But then second, while the violence occurred, he would take pictures or videos of that, and he would use those images, what we now call child sex abuse material.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was called child pornography. He would use those images to blackmail the perpetrator so that they had to keep paying and keep paying. And if or when they decided they couldn't or would not pay any longer, he sold those images on the black market. And so he actually had 3 streams of revenue for every act of violence that I endured.
Yeah. Wow.
And yeah, so powerful men, lots of money means very little
Oh
accountability.
yeah. Yeah. They'll get theirs in the other realm.
Mhm.
So all right. Well, it's amazing that to go through all that. I just can't comprehend it. Me being a male, and not to say it doesn't happen to boys as well.
It
In
does,
young ages,
fortunately.
and yeah, exactly. I'm just blessed that uh, my family and everything were like that, and so
Hmm.
um, I'm glad that God put the strength into you to continue on. And again, sorry you got pregnant the way you did, but I'm glad that the love and joy came to prevent you from going early in life.
Yeah.
So, and finding KJ. KJ, thank
Yeah.
you, man, for finding her and letting her be the best that she can be for everybody else.
Yeah.
Hey, now go ahead and tell us about your was it Compass 31?
It
Uh,
is Compass 31. Compass31.org is our counter-trafficking organization. People can find us online if they're interested. We work in 3 areas: prevention, restoration, and leadership development. So we created this prevention tool called Priceless Cube. That program, like I said, is being used in at-risk areas in 44 countries now. Then we have a restoration model, a holistic model of restoration, working with survivors in 5 different countries. Here in the US, I personally mentor. Currently, I'm mentoring 18 survivors. And then we have a leadership development program, and that is the girls or boys that are in our program. We support them or walk alongside them to their highest capacity in education. So if they want to go to trade school, great. They want to be an electrician, they want to go to beauty school, absolutely. We've had one graduate, or several now graduate sewing school, a couple beauty school, but we've also had one graduate law school and pass their bar exam. And we
all
have
right.
2 that have
Yeah.
gained their master's degrees in social work. We have 2 more master's degree candidates that will graduate next May. So
Good
whatever
deal.
our leadership development program is supporting them to their highest capacity,
Yes.
whatever they were meant to be before the trauma happened.
Yes,
That's
that's
what we
all.
want to
Oh, that's
restore.
awesome. And then giving them a good head start when they get out there. So
Right.
that's
Right.
awesome to go along with the program. Okay, and all this again can be found on that website. Any
Yes, sir.
information about your mentoring, coaching, all that's on the
Yep.
website as well.
All that. They can find me through compass31.org or on social media. I'm on all the places.
Well, and I'll put that stuff in the show notes as well, how they can get a hold of you as well too from there. So
Absolutely.
all right. Well, JenniSue, I appreciate you being here. You've given me a big uplift on this rainy day out here. So right outside of Nash Vegas, Tennessee. So we got part of what Helen's gonna be cutting across here and getting some rain from all that next couple of days. But you have put a big sunlight brighten my day right here from just listening to you, seeing your beautiful smile, your positive attitude, and persevering. Hold on, let me get another one.
Persevering.
Oh, I know I said it, not you, but this time let me give you a. Let me go here. Let me go here so you can see the full thing. And this time we'll let's see. We did the fist bump up. I lost it again. Dadgummit. I got to get better at this. All right. This time about a high five. All right.
I can't go wrong with Buzz Lightyear and Woody.
That's right. That's right.
High
That's
five.
right. So, all right. We appreciate you being here and sharing your story. Now, we know that people are hurting and struggling today. And if you leave us with a positive message to help us get through any time, again, people use these positive messages as a golden nugget to help you get through a troubling time. And again, be sure to share it to someone else as well. So, JenniSue, if you can leave us with a message, it'd be a blessing.
Well, my friends, I would just say that you are worthy of being seen. You're worthy of being loved. You're worthy of being protected. I believe that you're made in the image of God, and He has prepared good works in advance for you to do. You are built to change the world. And whatever you have faced and are facing now is equipping you to have a dynamic and purposeful impact in our world. And so let's persevere together. Let's change the world together. You're worth it.
Amen. And again, you don't necessarily have to change the whole world, but you can change your world and then
Mm,
change the corner around your world. and then build from there. So
Absolutely.
baby steps to move forward. So JenniSue, thank you again for being here. We appreciate you sharing and everything. And for everybody else, be sure to share this. And if someone that may need some inspiration today. So for everyone else, I'm Dr. James Purdue, the professor of perseverance. Let's do something today, tomorrow, something next week that's going to help you persevere past your paralysis.